Hello, everyone. My name is Philip. We are going to be doing a web manufacturing and kitting webinar today. I am going to pass it over to Katya and Justin to introduce themselves.
Good morning, guys. As some of you might know, my name is Katya. I am one of the CSMs here at inFlow, and I have wonderful Justin, or I guess it's on the side, wonderful Justin with me today. I don't know if Justin wants to
Hi.
say hi.
Hi guys, I'm Justin. I won't be talking much today, but you'll see me in chats a lot. I'm the moderator of this webinar, but yeah, the main star will be Phil and Katya. Thank you guys.
Manufacturing is a pretty big topic. I don't know how long this will go, kind of thing. Like in my head, I feel like it'll go quick, but I'm sure as we get into the intricacies and stuff, it will kind of go longer. I think one of the biggest reasons actually we kind of wanted to do this webinar now is that not too long ago, at the end of last year, we finally were able to release manufacturing and kitting for our web app, which is with been missing, and so I know people on Mac and Linux and stuff like that were wanting this feature for a super long time, and because we took our time with it, we kind of improved it. We added a whole bunch of things to it, so we kind of want to go over all those differences and how it works in the browser there. So. Just to start us off and get us going, I thought I'd throw in a couple quick manufacturing kind of like little facts and stuff like that. So I thought this was really cool, but that manufacturing, as we all know, has existed since humans first created tools. But there is one company in Japan, a Japanese ceremonial paper company, who has been in business since 771. Not 1771, 771. So they are considered one of the oldest or longest companies in the world, which is pretty incredible. Also, most manufacturing companies are small. So a lot of us, we think of the huge companies like Coke or Ford or Apple or stuff like that. But according to a US Census Bureau, 249,000 companies that responded, only 3,837 of them actually had more than 500 employees. So majority of them are actually a lot smaller than you think. But being small, the manufacturing industry is actually huge. So there's 1.7 million full-time manufacturing jobs in Canada as of 2020. And considering Canada's workforce is only around 18 million people, that is a huge chunk. Also very cool, China is the largest manufacturing nation in the world, followed by the US and then Japan. And our last little fact for this morning is that manufacture is actually a 16th century French word meaning something made by hand. The word is partially derived from the Latin word manufactura, which also means to make something by hand. Though now products today are still made by hand, maybe we should also include robots in that definition too, because I think a lot of them are made by robots. So soon we'll have to include AI and all that kind of stuff too. Um, so yeah, I just thought that was a fun little way to kind of start off our webinar this morning.
And also, I just wanted to hop in here and say, if you guys, after this webinar, are interested in testing it out, if you don't have it on your plan, feel free to reach out to your CSM and let us know. We can always set up a 15-minute account check-in just to kind of show a little more of it and see if you guys want to try it out, test it out on your own database. So just let us know.
Awesome. Okay, so kind of just a quick overview of what we're going to be going over today. So first, we're kind of going to discuss what manufacturing orders are, how we create them, what the different options we have in inFlow are, then, excuse me, what is kitting and bundling, and we do have a giveaway for somebody. If you stick around to the end, we will be giving away a $100 gift card for spending your time with us this morning. So we will have demos, or live demos, all throughout, and yeah, we will try and get to them as we can. So the big questions: what are manufacturer orders? So manufacturer orders, or MOs as we call, because we like to shorten everything to make things as fast as possible. Essentially, they track raw materials or components that are assembled to create a new product. There's essentially two elements to manufacturing products inside inFlow. You have a bill of materials and the manufacturer order itself. A bill of materials, or BOM, is a list of raw materials and instructions that are used to create a product. So in this picture here, you can see we've got a skateboard, you have the actual board itself, the two trucks that attach the wheels to it, and then the screws that all put it together. So a BOM is something like a recipe where the ingredients and the steps are what's provided. The manufacture order is the part where you're actually tracking the tasks that you are to complete the manufacturing itself. So this is things like picking your products, where you can handle reordering, as well as we have a lot of different manufacturing options that you can kind of pick on there to customize it as you need. Now, one thing before you start manufacturing, you kind of need to make sure that you've done these things first. You need to create your products, both finished goods and raw materials. You want to have made sure that you've added your costs to all your products ahead of time, because otherwise, once you start creating these things, if you're trying to use inFlow to report on stuff like your profit or the actual cost of the goods or anything like that, then it's not going to be accurate. And you'll need to add your bill of materials to your finished goods themselves. So, when I talk about finished goods versus a raw material, what kind of is the difference or like the meaning behind them? We refer to finished goods as like the final product. So, this is something like a bicycle here in this picture. The raw materials are the parts that make up the finished goods. So, we consider them either raw materials or components. We kind of use those interchangeably. So, depending on your terms, that's what you can kind of think of them as. And actually, I'll just quickly switch over here for 1 second to show. So this is inFlow's web app. I've set up my own little test database here just to kind of show. But essentially, your finished products, again, are going to be something that's like your fully manufactured thing. We have a little manufacturing tab here. The bill of materials is the things that you add to it. These are all still products in the database itself. So everything is still just like either a stock product, a serialized product, or anything like that. There's no differentiation when you're actually creating the products themselves. So they can still be stock, serialized, non-stock, anything like that. It's just a matter of once you're actually adding it to the bill of materials or anything, that's kind of what's making it either the finished product or the component. Okay. So yeah, so when you're creating the manufacturer orders, each of your finished goods is going to need a bill of materials, which is what I was just saying before. The bill of materials include the component products costs, and then this is actually something that's new to our web manufacturing, is that we actually have built-in operations or assembly instructions. And so these operations can have their own costs associated with them. They can have instructions laid out for your people who are picking and assembling these things, which we didn't actually have available before.
And you can also include time, right, in there with the
Yeah,
operations?
yes. And so we can actually kind of go through and show that now. So yeah, so as I said, so we've got kind of a database here set up with a whole bunch of different products. As you can see already, this one's already set up. The Flash gaming chair. Anyone from any of my previous webinars will know I'm a big DC fan, so we always have stuff with that. But this one's already set up, so why don't I go to this motorized table. Again, this is a stock product that I've created. You can see I have zero quantity on hand. And under manufacturing tab that we have here, I've got nothing in here. So nothing is actually set up on here yet. But I do want to build these tables. So I've already actually gone through and created the components that will be what we use to build it all together. So if we go to the product itself, which is just in your menu and then product list, you find your finished product again, and then again under here you've got the manufacturing tab. This is where we're going to add our bill of materials. So all I have to do is simply click on this. It's going to pull up another product list down here where I can either search or just find the pieces that I need. So I know I need a hinged rear cover on this, which is now added to it. I only need one. We've got the mounting blocks. I need the metal desktop, a cable tray, and then I've got both a right motorized leg, because this table can actually go up and down, which is very cool. Whoops, left motorized leg, table feet, right there, power cord, and a desk mat. So these are kind of all the different things that I need to build one of these tables. So I can click save on here. And once I save, it's going to refresh and it's going to update. And right from here, we can actually kind of already see a bunch of cool things that inFlow has done. So I've already linked together how many products we need. Now, if you need multiple of anything, you can increase the quantities on here. I believe with this table, I would just need kind of one of everything. But something that you'll see on here is that it's already pulled the component costs. So these are the costs from the products themselves. So if I click this handy little box with the arrow, this will actually open up the product that I can see in another tab. And I can see on here that right now my cost is $23. On here, I'm getting that same cost. So this is actually adding it all together to get a total cost of $266. Now, this is just an estimated cost because once I go to build this table, I could add a product, I could remove a product, I could swap one, I could do a whole bunch of different things to it. So we don't consider this as kind of like your total cost yet for it, just because things can change. We know things always change. But taking a look at it, I also noticed that for some reason my right motorized leg is at 0 cost, whereas my left one is at 89. And that obviously seems like it's something wrong. And I was in the steps before, I was saying that you want to make sure that your costs are all set up before. So let's take a quick look at this product. And so I can see in here, yeah, for some reason the cost in here is actually coming in at 0, but I do have it in stock. So if I go through my like order history or movement history and stuff, that's usually the easiest way to track it. And I can see actually, so I used a stock adjustment to bring this into my inventory rather than using like a purchase order. And stock adjustments don't have costs associated with them. So this is probably not a good way of doing it. So what I can do is just cancel this stock adjustment. 5 of those. And instead I will create a new purchase order. What's the right leg?
I like your vendor, your secret lab.
Yeah. So for 5 of those, and we will fulfill that and bring that into stock, which if I refresh, should update my product itself. Now I'm showing a cost of 89 on the product because I've now brought it in using a purchase order. And then if I refresh this, that should be fine. And I go back to my manufacturing tab. There we go. So now I have an $89 cost for both of them, and I'm seeing a more accurate estimation of how much I think that it's going to cost me to manufacture one of these.
And one of the questions that was asked by Jordan is originally when you're adding the components in your bill of materials, it was showing $0 only just because it hasn't been saved yet. As Phil showed, once you save it, it should update with your cost. But if you don't see one, it's really great to go back to your product page and kind of see if any cost was brought in originally.
For sure, yeah. And actually, seeing $0 cost in here is odd, I think. I think that
This was the prices.
Oh, this is the
right?
prices.
Yeah.
Yes, there you go. That's yeah, you're right. Sorry, $9.99 is the price for the table. So yeah, this is not showing the cost like these $0 because I'm not selling these. I didn't put an actual price on the product itself. So like the sales price. So the cost is still coming through. Good point. Good catch on that. So yeah, so I've got all my my components that I need to build this, but that's only kind of one part of the equation on this. We also now have, if you look here on the right hand side, operations. So by default, you'll have assembly. That's kind of like the base one that's kind of just always in there, just to give you an idea of what you can do. But if you open up the drop down, you can click on this manage operation types, and you can actually add in any different steps or manufacturing operation types that you want to have in here. These can be used again for kind of like instructions on how to actually build it, and then you can also add extra costs to it. So we'll see here we've got a $0 operation subtotal to to add to this 355. So I can add a cost. So let's say assembly. Now here you've got a couple different options. So you need to put in a labor cost. This is the amount of cost per hour. So something like $13.20 per hour. Now you can put in how long you think that this step would actually take. So assembling something like this kind of a table, whatever, it probably takes something like 30 minutes. I can put that in, and that's going to actually calculate this cost based off of the labor time right there. If you don't want to do it based off of time, you can do a per unit cost instead. So I think if I put in like, that's coming out at $6. If I say I want it to be $10 or something instead, that'll put in just like a hard cost no matter what that I have in there. Or if you put in both, then it will add them together. So again, you kind of got to keep that in mind. You probably want to only use one of these, either the estimated duration or the actual per unit cost, and that will add it in. So I'll set this back to 30 minutes again. We'll have that in there. And again, I can add another operation. So these are other ones that I had set up for building my chairs, which I'll show a little bit later. But we could always just say we needed to add the base or something like that too. Could add another cost. Let's just say that this costs an extra $15. So my total operation cost then is $21.60, which I can save. And that will then get added into the total right that we have here, 376 per unit that it costs to manufacture this whole thing. The other cool thing that you can do with these assembly operations, or sorry, with the operations in here, is you can add instructions. So these you can actually type in any kind of instructions that you need. So put the legs, base, attach the power or something like that. So again, you can save this so that these notes and everything like that will actually show up when you go to manufacture the item itself. How's everybody? Do we have any specific questions that?
Looks like there's a longer one that just came up. And I don't know if it would make sense to, go through that right now or maybe save it for the end.
Okay, we will take a look at that in a little bit. Okay, so another kind of cool thing that we have built into here. So this is, again, these operation instructions are the operations, themselves. So these things where you have like assembly, base assembly, and these costs. This is a new feature to manufacturing on the web. So this is not available in our desktop application. So if I pull up like the same product, which is this table here in the desktop application, and I go under like bill of materials, it is still going to pull in that correct cost of $376.60, which is my $355 plus the operation cost. But because that wasn't something built into the Windows app, we don't have a way of seeing those operations on here. So it is just actually kind of calculating that for you on here. So if you do want to use that feature or anything like that, we definitely recommend using the web app, because that way you'll be able to see it all and you'll be able to modify it as you need. But if you are using the desktop one and somebody does happen to add it, you will still get the correct costs. You just won't be able to see those as different options on here. I see Carla was asking, is that feature going to be implemented into the desktop app? So no, unfortunately, it's not. We are essentially moving towards adding all the features to the web app now that everything is kind of very similar between the two, and going forward, most new features will probably just come to the web app. Unfortunately, the desktop application is a lot harder to, I guess, like work on and like develop the new features. It takes a lot more to make the different releases and stuff like that. So going forward, like we're still continuing to use the desktop application for the foreseeable future. We don't have like an end date or anything like that, but as more and more new features come, they will come to the web app. Not sure what PWA is, Brody, so I'm not sure if the web app will become PWA.
If, because on the right side you see assembly, there's estimated duration. Is there a way to track the actual time that took?
Not currently. I do know that is a feature that they're looking at building in. So they're essentially looking at creating almost like a timer or like a stopwatch or something like that, so that when it is being manufactured, you can track those times and stuff like that. But currently, no. Cool. And so Brody said PWA is an app that's built using web platform technologies, but provides a user experience like that of a platform specific app. To be honest, I'm not sure. I know the team has put a lot of work into it the way that it is. I don't know if they're planning on kind of like changing that again or anything like that. So, but we can definitely put it in as like product feedback and stuff like that. So, yeah. Um, so a couple other kind of cool things that we've added to the manufacturing on here that we didn't have in the desktop is we now have the ability to disassemble a product. So now that I've got my bill of materials and everything set up, if I had created one of these already, I could disassemble one, which is essentially just going to um, take away one stock of this finished product and then increase the stock of all the component pieces. It's not actually like canceling a manufacturer order or anything like that. Like it's not smart enough to know which one it would have come from or anything like that. So just keep that in mind if you ever do need to use it. But through like user testing and research and everything like that, we did find that this was kind of like something that a lot of people were doing, that they were kind of taking these things back apart into component pieces. So clicking this will actually let you then choose how many you want to disassemble. You can choose what location you want to put that stock into. And then when you click it, it'll just make a stock adjustment for those parts. Again, it'll subtract the finished product and then increase all those component pieces. And then, so one of the other new things that we added is that in the quantity breakdown here for your products, we actually have this new section called buildable. So this is actually going to take based off of how much stock you have of all your bill of materials on here, how much you can actually build. Now, this is per location. So if I'm looking at all of my locations, if I clear my location on here, it's not going to show buildable because this is something that is tied specifically to those locations. But so if I look at my default location, I have enough stock on here right now to build 5 of them. Okay. And take a quick look. So the second step of creating the manufacturer order is actually creating the manufacturer order itself. This is essentially what you'll be doing is you'll be picking the manufacturer, you're picking your finished good, and then from here you're going to have a whole bunch of different options that you can do. So you can assign it to a certain person on your team if you want. You can choose the location. So this is where the products are going to be picked and put away unless you manually change that to a different location. You can change your order dates. You can set up other costs. You can put a due date as well as a whole bunch of different custom fields that you can do. So we can quickly show how to do that. Again, under your main menu, go down to manufacturer. So you can either go to the manufacturer order list where you can see any of the ones that you've either got open under your current list or all of them. Create a new order. And so again, this here is going to show you a list of your finished products. So again, this is like your products that you have that have bill of materials associated with them. So in here, like if I wanted to build one of my chairs, so like the Superman chair, I can hit next. It's going to ask how many I want to build and for what location. We'll keep it at the default one, but let's say I want to build 2. I'll hit create. And so this is now going to have created. So this is my manufacturer order itself here. Now, again, like I was saying, you can assign it to a user. So I only have one team member on here, but you could assign it to somebody if you needed to. This is the location that we have it set to. The order date, if we have a specific due date, you can put that on here as well. If you have other costs, you can enter them in here. And if you have custom fields, sorry, you can add up to 10 on here. And so this is just like a text area that we could say like completed by. We want to print this out on our documents, and then that'll add a new little field in here. So completed by, say, Phil. And that will now be something that'll save on this manufacturer order and be able to print out on the documents. Now, when we look at it, we also have a remarks field. So this is something for the entire work manufacturer order, excuse me. So these are if you wanted to leave any kind of notes or anything like that, you can save that. And then here we have our hierarchy of the stuff that needs to be assembled. By default, it's going to show just the pieces, like just the finished products. So in my chair here, I have both a sub-assembly. So this toolkit has its own bill of materials and needs to be built, as well as the chair itself. If I want to see all those pieces that are actually needed for it, I can toggle this show raw materials here. And this is now going to show all the pieces that actually build or make up those things. We do recommend starting kind of from your lowest level and working your way up. So essentially, you're going to see here that I've got a start button over here on my assembly toolkit, because this is essentially something that is needed to complete building my chair. You want to build this first. So if I click on start, it's then going to bring me to the screen where I can actually start picking these things. So you can, if it's a very simple process, you can just like check mark them and click them to mark them as picked. You can click this little pick all, which will check mark them all for you. Or we do also have, if you have like a scanner or something hooked up to your computer, you can click that scan to pick, and then you start scanning the barcodes while this is on there, and it will then, as long as the barcode matches one of those items, it will check it off. And if you scan it multiple times, it's going to increase that quantity as many as you do. Once I've got them all picked, I can click assemble. This is then going to take me to my operations on here. And again, this is where you can then, if you had multiple of them, you can mark them as done. And that way, essentially, I've now built this assembly toolkit. If I click the little arrow, it'll take me back, and you'll now notice that the assembly toolkit is showing as done, and that now I've got the start on the chair itself. So I can click on the chair, go back to the picking side of it, and again, here now I can go through and I can pick all the different pieces that I need for it. So we can say pick all, and I can go to the operations. And then again, this is where you can then do each operation as you need. You can edit like the times or anything like that too. So I mean, if it did take a different amount of time, you could change that right here. So maybe this only took me 20 minutes instead. So I can update that, and that will then update the cost on this manufacturer order as itself. I can mark them all as done. And then when I go back to my chair, we'll now see that both of them are marked as done, and I have the option to complete the order. So if I complete the order now, this is when it's going to subtract all those component pieces from my inventory and now increase my finished goods in my inventory. I see Carla asked, does the duration button automatically record the amount of time starting? So not yet. That is a feature that we do hope to add in the near future. So we will be implementing something like a stop watch or a timer or something like that in the manufacturing process. Cool. Now, a couple other kind of cool things that you can actually see on here. If I click this plus and I want to create like another one of these, we're just going to create one. And I look at all my raw materials. You'll notice as I highlight any of these things here, we get these little dots on the side. So this is kind of like a menu that you can select to do different things to it. Where is my class 4 hydraulic piston? Say this person needs a custom one or something like that, and they need a more powerful piston. I have another product in my system that I can search for called the class 6 hydraulic piston, which I can swap in by actually clicking on this little drop down. So here I have edit quantity. So if I needed to use more of them, you can change that. You can swap the product. So instead of having to remove the product and then add another one, this is kind of just like a nice handy little feature that we had to be able to swap those out. Or if you click view details, it'll open up the product in a new tab so you can see all the details about it. Now I swapped it to the class 6 hydraulic piston, and we're now going to see this big red sign saying not enough. My chair itself is saying that it's blocked because I actually do not have any stock of this to be able to complete this work order or this manufacture order. It will show like that as well in the listing as well too, so you can see stock availability. You can see that I don't have enough stock, so that way you kind of know right away that something is wrong with this. Now when I click on it, let's see. Essentially, we know that we need to get stock of this to be able to continue. So at this point, you can either choose that you could remove it from the order if you don't need it, you could swap it again, or I can make a PO to bring this back into stock essentially. So I can swap it back and be able to complete it because it'll no longer be blocked with something that is in stock. So again, we kind of have those things there just to make things a little bit easier. And yeah. From the manufacturer orders, we also have various different things that you can print as well too. So like a pick list, I know a lot of time it would be useful that you can then print out to get all the different items that you need to complete that order. You can print out the manufacturer itself. Otherwise, if you have labels set up, you can also print out labels for the different, like your finished good. And well, again, like a put away list. So this would just be for how many finished products and stuff you have for what location and things like that that you need to do.
Brody was just asking if the assembly instructions appear anywhere when printing. I don't believe it does right now, right?
I don't believe so either.
On the manufacturer order?
Actually, on the manufacturer order, does it? No.
That's a great feature request.
For sure, yeah. I can see how that would be. That would definitely be useful. So we can definitely submit that as feedback as well too.
And another question about reporting was from April. They were asking if the report will separate the materials from the operation costs. Is there any way? I can't remember if that's possible. I think it combines the costs all into one when you're looking at it in a report.
Look, manufacturer. I think it would combine it as one too, because I mean, you're essentially our reports. You've got either like the materials or the finished product. In like the materials, I think it's just going to show the component pieces, not the. Yeah, I've got like so those are all the different pieces with their specific costs.
Do we have another column or no? That with any other kind of costs? No. So it's just the combined.
Yeah, it's
cost.
just the unit cost of them. It will show in the finished product, but I don't think it separates it out. Cost unit. We'll check how it breaks down, but yeah, that's another good point that we can definitely bring back to the team. Yeah, it's just showing the actual unit cost itself kind of thing. So it's not showing a different one or anything. It's not showing, sorry, the operation cost separated out. Cool. So we went through kind of a lot of these already, but so some manufacturer orders may be more complex or custom. So we do have all those different options that I was kind of showing you on there. So things like if you needed to add extra components when you're in the manufacturer order itself, you can do that. Just pull this one back up. Back to it itself. If you select the actual finished product itself, again, do the little drop down. You can choose this add components. And then if you needed to add something else to it, you could choose to add it, and that will then update this on here. You can also split into a new order. So if certain things, again, like in this case, if I wanted to, if say you had multiple of the chairs, sorry, you could split it into a different order. So you could complete maybe one with the amount of stock that you have right now, but you can't complete the second one or something, and you want to do that right away. You could split it into its own new order again, or then you can do the things like swapping them, viewing the details. Another cool little thing actually that you'll see on here. So because I've changed the bill of materials now on here, I have this little icon, which might be hard to see. I'll try and zoom in. This little yellow icon on here, if I hover my mouse over it, says refresh components. What this will actually do, and what this is kind of telling you, is that the bill of materials is no longer what the original is set to. And if I click it, it's going to ask, do you want to refresh the assembly? If I do, what it's going to do is it's actually going to reset that back to what my bill of materials is at the actual product level itself, kind of thing. So if you've made changes, if you've swapped things out or anything like that, then that's kind of just a quick way that you can reset it back to the default.
Another question asked by Carla was, you know how in the desktop app, if you change the overall number of finished products that you want to manufacture, you have to click the little update button so that the component quantities also update. In the web app, she was just asking, is that also the same, or when it changes quantity, it just updates automatically?
That's a great question. And it's actually something that they did think about. So if you look, if I do hit edit quantity on here now, I can change it. And then we actually have two options. So you can either choose to just modify the yield. So that would be your finished product. And that's going to be the only thing that it changes. Or you can choose to update all the relevant components as well. And that will then, so I've changed it to 3 now. If I hit that, it's now updated the quantities on all of these for the things that I actually needed. So we make that a little more apparent than what it was in the desktop app, because yeah, it was definitely easier to miss that just by changing those kind of pieces of information. I like that. Thank goodness. Cool. Glad that helps. Any other ones before we move on?
Brody had asked, will you bring a feature like split work order by picked, similar to sales orders or purchase orders? I'm not exactly sure if you can clarify the question a little bit more. Unless
Well,
from the steps.
I think I would assume what he means like is if you've picked like part of the order itself. With the web app, it may be less common, I guess, to need to do that. On the desktop application, when you were creating a manufacturer order, you could kind of have as many finished products as you want. You can still technically have more than one finished product, but through like our research and everything, the suggested workflow is to only have like one finished product, like your main finished product per work order. In which case, then usually splitting those off is not going to be as common of a thing that you would need to do. Again, we do have an option to split off if you do need to. So you could, if you had multiple finished products on here, split one onto a new order. But it wouldn't be automatic in terms of how many, like based off of what you picked. You would have to kind of just, I guess, pick the ones that you need and then do it that way.
I know we have a bunch of other questions, and Justin's trying to tackle them all. I know we'll try to answer as many as we can, but we do also need to save some time just for bundling and kitting, because there is this new function that wasn't possible before. So I guess I'll take over for that part. Just share my screen.
Oh, Joe looks like he's excited for kitting.
Sure, I'm sharing the correct screen.
So Brody, you'll probably want to pay attention to this section because that will probably answer your question. This is what Kat is going to be going over now.
Yes. And a lot of you guys might kind of know what bundling and kitting is, some might not. So I'm just going to go through some of the basics first, and then I'll also do a demo as well, so that you can kind of see what it's like in action. So again, what is bundling and kitting? Well, this is a new way for you to speed up your fulfillment process, especially for users who really don't want to create the manufacturer orders manually when selling a bundled or kitted product. So this essentially allows you to set up your bill of materials ahead of time, but when an item is purchased on a sales order or is reserved for purchase on a sales order by your customer, you would be able to fulfill that order and an MO gets created in the background. So one of the things that's really, again, important to kind of understand is the difference between our terms that we use, so manufacturing and bundling slash kitting. So we typically use the term manufacturing when you're building out a product from component pieces, so a finished product like Phil had shown. So something like a chair or a desk, those would be a great example of a manufactured product. Then the term bundling and kitting is typically used when you're taking existing products and combining them into a bundle or set that can be sold as one. So we can see this in subscription boxes. You can also see this if you're selling to some of your customers like a combo pack of your products, where it might be cheaper for them to purchase a 2-pack instead of just a singular product. So that's when you'll see it. It's also good to just note that you'll use bundling and kitting when it's something that can be put together kind of quickly. If you are going to be, if you need to take the time to actually put something together, we would refer more to that as the manufacturing.
We
Now,
just had
what's,
what?
yeah, sorry.
Sorry, we had one person just ask if you could do full screen on the presentation.
Sure, of course. Let me just, because I'm going to go back and forth between this. So does that help? Hopefully,
Yep,
yeah.
should be.
So what's new? Well, everything. This is a completely new addition that we didn't have before. We solely had the manufacturing side of things. So now this has been added to both web and desktop. And again, just to kind of explain in more detail. So in the past, when a sales order would come in, you would need to create what we call the work order. Now it's called the manufacture order before you could fulfill the sales order. So typically you would get the order from your customer, and then in the background you would be manufacturing your product and creating the work order so that you could sell it on your sales order. Now you can have the MOs generated automatically when your sales order is completed. So we'll go through an example of that. The great thing about this is it will update your quantities immediately, which saves you time instead of having to go through a few additional steps. And it's going to provide you a more accurate quantity for your bundles and kits when those values are pushed to your e-commerce site. So if you have any integrations with, let's say, Shopify or WooCommerce, those quantities will push more accurately because it will take a look at all your component quantities as well. And so again, I'll go into more detail in my demo. So just to give you guys a bit more information about the database I created. So in my example, we are running a business that sells coffee beans and coffee mugs. And so we have some light roast coffee, medium roast, dark roast, and some coffee mugs. I'll mostly be focusing on, our actual coffee beans. And so with those coffee beans, we purchase them as kind of like a raw good. We then put them into our bags, and then those bags can be sold either individually or can be sold as a set. So I will kind of go through just a quick explanation of that raw bean to bag process, which is more of what Phil had shown. And then from the bags to put it into our taster set or taster bundle, that will actually be the kitting. Okay, so let's actually go into the web app now. So we'll take a quick look at our product. Like I mentioned earlier, we are selling some coffee bags that are going to have beans inside of them. And so I have my coffee beans set up as their own product. So that's what I'm going to be purchasing from my supplier or vendor. And then I'm going to be packaging them up into 1 kilogram bags, and then I will be also selling those kilogram bags in a coffee bundle as a 3-pack. So my variety pack, which I have here, if we click into it, I have my bill of materials already set up. That variety pack will have 1 light roast packaged bag, 1 medium roast, 1 dark roast, and then obviously we need something to put it in, so we have a cardboard box that it's going to go in as we combine this all into one. This is very different than how we have it for the actual individual packaged bags. So if I click into one of those, you'll notice that in my bill of materials, I have the raw coffee beans and then the coffee bags. So what's really important to, again, understand about these two kind of processes is with the raw coffee beans that I have, I'm going to package those ahead of time. So I'm going to have those ready on my shelf before I get any sales orders. So in my manufacturer settings, I have it set so that I assemble them manually, so similar to what Phil had shown earlier. And in the second option here, it's asking how we want to look at our quantities. So we have the option to separate our quantities, so the quantity available from the quantity buildable, or we can combine those quantities so that you can see in total, based on all the components that you have, how many you would have available to you. So this second setting is going to be especially great for the kit that we create. So I'll show that a little bit later. So again, right now we have currently this dark roasted packaged 1 kilogram bag, and we have 0 units of it. So if I wanted to preemptively fill these bags, I could go into that main menu, and similar to what again Phil was showing us earlier, click into new manufacturer order, select the dark roast, next, create, and then this will create the MO for me, telling me all the components that I have. I can view my pick list, check them off here, and we can say that this has now been completed. So we'll complete the order. So now our components have been deducted from our dark roast raw goods and the refillable coffee bags, and it's been added into this dark roast packaged bags. Go back to our product list. Dark roast, we'll see that we have a quantity of 1. Now, if we look at the quantity breakdown, it will show you that we have 1 on hand. I do have some sales orders that were already created. So we have 1 that's reserved, and you can see where it has been reserved. And then we have this new quantity that's telling us how many we have available to build. So right now I have 99 kilograms of my raw dark roasted coffee beans. And so I can create 99 more 1 kilogram bags of that product. It's also taking into account how many coffee bags I have. So if I only had 80 coffee bags available and I had 100 kilograms of the raw coffee beans, it would only allow me to create 80, and that would be our buildable quantity. Now, if we take a look at our coffee bundle, again, this is going to pull one of each of the light roast, medium roast, dark roast, and a cardboard box. The manufacturer settings for this one, I've set to auto assemble, and then I can also set this to combine quantities. So that's the recommended settings for bundles. You'll see the little tags here at the top. So if you can't remember when you're setting this up yourself, those will kind of help you when you are creating your bill of materials, just to make sure you have it set up correctly. Now, right now I have it to separate quantities just so that we can take a look at the difference. So if we go to overview and we look at my buildable quantity, again, it is showing that we can build 99 more because that's how many components we have available to build out these variety packs. So we can build out 99 more variety packs, and we currently have 3 reserved and -3 available because it's the available quantity at the moment is not taking into account the buildable. The reason we recommend having the combined quantities for bundles is so that the correct inventory can push to your e-commerce sites. If we update that right now and we go to overview, you'll see that the quantity available is now no longer -3, it is 96. So the reason why it is 96 is it took that 99 that's available to build, and then it subtracts the -3 that we have from the current reserved orders, so giving us 96 more that we can build. This is again important because typically a bundled good or kitted good is something that you can easily put together as long as you have the components. So having it all combined into one quantity just gives you a more accurate representation of what you really have in stock. I don't know if there's any questions. I haven't been looking to this other screen.
Yeah, Justin and I have been kind of
Fantastic.
answering or whatever, but I think One thing people I saw Luz ask if they have finished products that can be created by manufacturing and bundling, can they have both methods in the product as the bill of material? I believe if I'm understanding the question correctly, yes, just because you can still manually create your manufacturer orders or the bundling, excuse me, bundling or kitting can still be automatically done through sales orders and stuff.
Yes, that's a very good point. If you wanted to go ahead and create the MO manually, you could just go into the main menu and follow the steps again that Phil had gone through to do it ahead of time. That will add your inventory to your stock levels of that kitted good. And so when a sales order comes in, let's say we already had 10 finished products completed in here. When that sales order comes in, it's going to pull from your 10 first. It's going to ensure that your quantity that's already put together is going to get depleted first. And then if any additional products need to be kitted or bundled, it will go ahead and do that second. But you do want to make sure in that case that you still have your manufacturer settings set to auto assemble, because that is going to be, if you have it set to assemble manually, it's not going to auto assemble as the secondary option. Whereas if it's auto-assembled, you can still do the MO manually. Now we can actually create an example of this. So again, if I manually create a new variety pack here, save this, we'll see that the variety pack still shows up in our finished good list. And so again, even though it's auto-assembled, I can still create it manual here, create, just complete order, back, and you'll see the quantity is updated for a quantity of 1. If I go to my sales order list right now, I think I created a few sales orders ahead of time. I do apologize, my internet is a bit slow.
It's okay. We have 2 questions. Maybe you can quickly
Sure.
answer too. Matt was asking, how does it display on the pick list if you're using auto assemble?
Yes. So the pick list of the sales order will only show you your finished products. In this case, the variety pack that I have is going to be the only thing on this pick list. But I will walk through the steps on how you can get your pick list for the MO that gets automatically created. So in this SO that we have right now, if I were to go ahead and fulfill it at this moment, it would not create another manufacturer order, because at this moment we already have 1 unit pre-packaged for us. So we don't need to do anything else. We could just fulfill and grab that pre-packaged good. If we were to change this to, let's say, 3 units, save that. So from here, it should now create a manufacturer order. It will pull the one that we already have pre-packaged and should only create a manufacturer order for 2 more units. So if we go ahead and mark fulfill, this is where it's creating that MO number 4, which you can click this little view button and it will take you directly to that manufacturer order. Now, at this moment, we did find a bug as we were going through testing, and our developers are working through it just to make sure that when you click through the view, it goes to the correct screen. At the moment, I believe it's going to our vendor list, which is not where it's supposed to go. So they are working on getting that fixed up. But if we just go to our manufacturer order list, it will already be there. So again, that's manufacturer number 4. You'll see that it's automatically completed. This is because we have that auto assemble function turned on. So again, it's automatically completed for you. And from here, this is where you can print off your pick list. So if you really need to see your components that you need to put into your kitted or bundled product, you would go to the MO first and then click print and print the pick list from there if you need to see all the components in detail. And this will also include any sub-assemblies too. So if I didn't have any of these already packaged, it would then take from those, take from the raw good and pull this into the MO as well. Now, as I mentioned earlier, on our sales order, we had a quantity of 3, but because we pre-packaged 1, our MO only needed 2 more. So it only did as many as we need without making any extra. So the system is able to calculate that for you, and again, auto-assemble as necessary, going forward. Now, one thing to be mindful of is because it auto-assembles, let's say we go to the sales order and we cancel that order. At this moment, inFlow doesn't actually disassemble it, because typically if, let's say, a customer comes in and says, hey, you know what, we don't need that variety pack, it's unlikely that you're going to take it apart. So the reason why the inventory value stays as the 3 units, it just gets put back into your location, is because it's likely that your prepackaged goods are going to stay just packaged until another customer requests them. So that manufacturer order does not get canceled. It still exists, and your quantity will just get updated to show that the 3 have come back essentially into your stock. So you can use it for the next customer. But if you really needed to kind of break this down, and you are going to be storing your individual products separately, your components separately, you could go into this manufacturing tab and click disassemble. And so this will allow you to disassemble your products back into their component pieces just by changing, again, the quantity here at the top. And then it will also ask how you want to deal with sub-assemblies. So this is, let's say, again, if I'm also manufacturing the raw beans that are going to be packaged into the bags, it's asking, do we want to leave those intact at least, or do we want to disassemble everything all the way down to the raw materials? So that's an option that we have here. Any questions?
So hopefully that kind of answers your question, April, because she was asking if there was a way to tie the MO to an SO on products that are made to order. So that's, I think, essentially the answer to that you were just going over. Christine also did have a good question. She was asking, what if several of the same parts are all finished products? How does the buildable quantity work? So I think that means like if you have same parts in different finished products and stuff.
So it will still show you the total amount that you can build in each one of those until something gets either reserved or used up. So there's no way of kind of separating it and like equally distributing, okay, 20 units will go there, 20 units there. No, we have 99 components, and those 99 components can be used for finished product number 1, number 2, number 3. It's going to depend on how you actually go about creating your MOs. If you create an MO for one of those finished products, it will reserve those components, and your buildable quantity will then update to show whatever is remaining. Very great question. Yeah.
And so yes, Matt, it will not display the kit components on the sales order. It will still only show the finished product, which I do see other people, like Jim was saying, that the option to display the components on the sales order pick list would be super helpful. So we will definitely submit this as a feature request to the team. Maybe this is something that we could get working later on in the future, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's just kind of a quick demo. I know we're close to the time. So just a few things I wanted to kind of recap. Let me just go to my last slide here. So one thing that we did show today, so if you have a secondary bundle not set to auto-assemble, so in our coffee bean example, we had the coffee beans that were packaged into the bags that were set to just manually create the MO. And then we had the packaged beans in the bundle that were set to auto-assemble. So what happens in that case is that if an SO gets created, so a sales order gets created with your auto-assembled product, anything that goes within it, so anything that's sub-assembled within it, will also use the same settings. So even though the raw beans were set to be manually assembled in an MO, it's still going to be auto-assembled because of the variety pack that we had. So those settings will kind of carry down to any sub-assemblies that you have. It's really important to keep that in mind. Your components will also get reserved if quantity anticipated is negative. So what that means is, so quantity anticipated is any kind of quantity you have on hand minus your quantity reserved plus any quantity on order. So again, important to keep that in mind. For retailers and companies who use and sell kits and bundles, we recommend selecting that combined quantities option in your manufacturing settings. And that's the one that had, recommended for bundles tag right next to it. So again, this will allow you to push the correct values to your e-commerce sites. In terms of reorder settings, we don't recommend setting up reorder points for your bundles or kits, as this should be done at your point of sale. So again, this is something that we're assuming, or the assumption is that you're going to be putting these kits together once you know you have certain orders coming in. You're not really typically doing this ahead of time. So we don't recommend setting up the reorder points because you're not doing it, again, ahead of time. And then lastly, we do recommend that the components get picked once the sales order comes in and you fulfill the order, just so that your quantities are being updated correctly as you're doing the actual physical bundling in your warehouse or wherever your location is, because we wouldn't want you to process your sales order and then the bundling actually didn't get done, or vice versa, where your bundling got done but you didn't process your sales order at the same time, because then the numbers won't match up. So just a few tips there. Hopefully that was helpful. If you guys do have any additional questions after today's webinar, feel free to send those questions over to support@inflowinventory.com, and or reach out to your CSM. We're always happy to help. But I do know we have the giveaway, so I definitely don't want to miss that. I know Justin was putting together a wheel of names, so I'm going to stop sharing.
Will share mine because he has sent those over. And actually, I wanted to share one other quick thing because I was using it this morning to help out a customer, and I think it is something that everybody will be very useful for. Sorry, also, Stephanie, I did see your question. Right now, the scan to pick on an MO, it will, because it's on your computer on the web app, any scanner that you can hook up to the web, like to your computer itself. So it could be a USB one, could be Bluetooth, could be any other kind of thing. As long as it's connecting to your computer, then you can do it. So I do know you could get like the wireless Bluetooth ones and stuff like that to still be able to scan. But the one last thing that I forgot to show earlier is also this is another fantastic new feature that has come to the web app for this. But if we go to one of our products, so I'm looking at my assembly toolkit, and you go under your manufacturing tab, we have this new little button, see where this product is used. So this is actually a quick way that if you click on it, it will tell you which finished products this is a bit like in the bill of materials for. So inFlow will try to, as Katya was demonstrating and everything, it will show your quantities based on how many orders are already placed and everything, and that does trickle down to all like the component pieces inside it as well. So being able to quickly see from your product which products this is already a part of really does help kind of break down like where those kind of like quantities and stuff like that might be coming from. So again, this is kind of a new feature that's in there too. So definitely use that if you ever have to kind of figure out or do any kind of investigating on your own products and stuff like that. Cool.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
I do see some other questions. Will you do it for the scanner that you sell? We are hoping to bring it. We actually just did a very large refactor of our mobile app. So it's been essentially almost built from the ground up again kind of thing. So now we should have an easier time of developing new features for it, and hopefully faster as well. So I do believe manufacturing, well, count sheets I know is coming first because people have been clamoring really to get count sheets on mobile. So counting is coming next, and then I believe most likely manufacturer orders or something like that will be coming after that. So I did also see somebody asking about the Bluetooth printer. I've been seeing lots of chatter through our messaging systems and stuff. We still don't have a specific date, but we've been testing. I've seen prototypes. I've seen all these things. So it will be coming sometime soon. Again, we appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. I saw so many questions coming in. Thank you. Huge thank you to Justin. I know he was going crazy answering those. And manufacturing is honestly, it's one of those those big things that I'm sure we could have gone on for another hour that we really wanted to go into everything. So again, if we didn't get to your question, I do apologize. Please email us support@inflowinventory.com, and we can take all the time to definitely dig into any of those. We will record all the feature requests and stuff that you're asking here, but if you have suggestions, if you have things that you think would help your business, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So the more people that request these things, the more we can kind of sit there and poke the higher ups and say, hey, our customers want this. So so again, you can send those anytime to us. Again, that's support@inflowinventory.com, or to your CSMs. They're there to help and to get that feedback as well. So yeah, I just wanted to give a huge thank you to everybody for coming and joining us today. I'm sorry we went a little over time and everything, but hopefully you were able to learn something. And again, hopefully maybe that 37% of people of you that weren't using the add-on, maybe you want to give it a try. So talk to your CSM and you can get that added.
Thank you, guys, and thank you, Phil, for hosting and Justin for moderating. Again, we really appreciate everyone who is able to join. It is an in-depth topic. We might have more webinars just going into the different parts of manufacturing. So stay tuned for any new webinar updates. But yeah, thank you again, everyone, for joining, and we hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya. Bye.